Welcome to Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by SEO Samba. Comprehensive high-performing marketing solutions for mature and emerging franchise brands. To supercharge your franchise marketing, go to SEOSamba.com. That's SEOSAMBA.com.
Welcome to Franchise Marketing Radio. Stone Payton Lee Cantor here with you this afternoon. Today's episode is brought to you in part by the Business Radio X Studio Partner Program, equipping franchisors to help franchisees dominate their local market. To learn more about serving your market and growing your business, go to mybrxstudio.com. Lee, this is going to be a fantastic segment. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast co-founder and director with HotBox Infrared Sauna Studio, Mr. Alex Samios. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
We are doing great. Alex, before we get too far into things, do you mind sharing a little bit about HotBox? How you serving folks?
Sure. So we are an infrared sauna studio, and if you've never heard, most people, what that means is infrared saunas have been around for over 20 years, very popular in Asia and in Europe, but started to take kind of root here over the past 10 years, and really for home use. They're like a traditional sauna in form, but very different in function in that we utilize infrared light instead of a traditional sauna is hot rocks. And so we use infrared light to heat the body itself. And so it's operated at a lower temperature and for longer durations. And what I saw 10 years ago, I opened the world's first dedicated infrared sauna studio out in California. It was called Sweet Sweat. And as a way to share this technology and the benefits of these powerful saunas with consumers. And if you didn't want to buy one for your house, there wasn't really a commercial use or a place for to try the saunas. So we really built this sauna studio and for folks to try and get exposed to it. We put a membership model around it, and that was 10 years ago. I opened several locations. I eventually sold the company and did some other things, stayed in the industry, operated some other studios. And then last year got together with the team at HotBox now, which is Jessica, Zach, and Jamie, and when we formed this company and really are now launching it nationally. It's really kind of 10 years of my key learnings in the business in infrared saunas, and the best of all the different previous models I had built, and kind of taken all of those key learnings and launching it in this new fresh model.
Now,
so that's kind of the history.
From the consumer standpoint, is this something they do individually, or is this 10 other people around them in kind of a cedar room?
They're private suites. So that was really the how we started 10 years ago, and it's evolved to where now you can watch. There's iPads in there, and we put full showers in these as well. So it's in the privacy of your own suite, in your own sauna, so you can stretch, you can work out, you can meditate, you can do yoga, you can watch movies. It's really your time, and it's 40 plus minutes of your time. We give you the suite for an hour, and so it's a lot of what people say me time, which is great. But you get to experience those in the privacy of your own suite.
And then, in a given location, how many suites are there?
8 to 12 usually. If you think about it, the model I originally copied back 10 years ago was kind of a tanning salon, right? Where you would go into your private room and tan and walk out. So that was kind of the model. Again, 10 years later, evolved into it's a much sexier, hipper, fresher design, much more sophisticated and clean and modern. And of course, none of the harmful benefits, has nothing to do with tanning. I want to make that really clear. This is about total mind-body wellness when we're talking about the benefits of saunas, which we can get into in a little bit.
Now, but it does have to do with sweating, right? That's part of the reason you're doing this, is to kind of have a lot of sweating. And then so showering and getting, like, it's not something you can just do for a few minutes and leave and go to work. You have to shower. There's a whole process here, right?
Yeah. We recommend at least 40 minutes, 45 minutes for the actual session in the sauna, and that's where you get the most benefit. But the real difference is that an infrared sauna heats your core body temperature up throughout the end of a session, increases at 3 degrees. And so you're really increasing your core body temp, not just the heating ambient air. And that's really the difference. We're raising the temperature of your core, and that stimulates all these amazing benefits like cellular detoxification, relaxation, weight loss. You can burn up to 600 calories just sitting, watching a movie, which is great. Pain relief, cardiovascular conditioning, great for high blood pressure or skin cell rejuvenation and circulation, and also great anti-aging with the skin.
So now this is should be part of everybody's kind of recovery process, like when they're working out, like you should spend so many, just like I do cardio so many days, I strength train, this should be sweating, should be kind of built into my routine.
Definitely. And it can be used in various ways, right? Complement it with after a workout for recovery is a great way to do it. And how I kind of have always utilized it is, in the morning, and then, cold shower, really gets you kind of builds your energy and is a great way to start the day. At the end of the day, a nice one, and, with a hot bath afterward, or just shower off and relax, jump into bed, is also a great way for stress relief. So it can be utilized, in numerous ways, but certainly coupled with a workout after, of course, is a great way for recovery, or to kind of increase blood flow and get the heart rate. It's passive cardiovascular conditioning. So you're not going to feel out of breath sitting in these, and that's why we call it passive, but it does increase the heart rate. And that is what kind of instigates this fat burn and calorie burn.
Now, is a potential franchisee somebody who's doing this kind of by itself, or do they own maybe another fitness, property, or they own something that's a complementary property, and then they add this to kind of their suite of services for their customer?
Sure. I mean, either. But so my partner, Jamie Weeks, is the largest Orange Theory fitness franchisee. He's got now close to 100 gyms. And this is a nice complement. The one we opened in Atlanta, the first one in Vinings, is right next door to HotBox. Right next door to Orange Theory. So, it makes a lot of sense to go work out and then jump in here. We're getting a lot of synergy from that. So certainly, a complementary to an existing portfolio in the health and wellness space or fitness is a great add-on, and diversifying out of those other franchise brands, or as a standalone, it certainly holds merit as a standalone.
Now let's talk about your background a little bit. You grew up kind of in the franchisee world, right? Like your father and you were franchisees early on. Well,
my father, 40 years ago. I'm not that old, but
right. He was like a kind of a real maverick, right?
No, he was the first franchisee for Jiffy Lube. So
right. So I mean, that's
was just starting early adopter. Yes, kind of pioneer in the automotive industry. But saw that opportunity as one of his good friends started the company, and he signed the first franchise agreement. So I grew up in and around business, but most importantly in and around franchising. Saw the power of the model 40 years ago. Knew I was going to be around it, and surely enough, right out of college, went to work for an emerging brand, Papa John's Pizza. I worked for them for several years, built some markets. And was kind of there through their heyday of the growth. After that, I wanted to franchise with them and had an opportunity to do that. And I did that. And 11 years later, when I sold, I had 34 restaurants and was nominated Franchisee of the Year for several years in a row. So got hooked on franchising at a very young age, and I've been in it now 27 years.
So now when you were a franchisee and you were kind of accumulating these restaurants, were you always kind of going, you know what, I'm going to start my own franchise? And were you kind of formulating what a franchise that an Alex run franchise would look like?
Yeah, I mean, certainly along the way you take the key learnings, and I think starting as a franchisee, working for a corporate franchisor, then being a franchisee, you certainly wear different hats, and you're able to look at things through different lenses, and take those key learnings. Say, you know what, I don't like this, I like this. If I'm going to do this, I would do it this way, and kind of take even Papa John's as they were going through their growth. Still was lacking some things in support, and there were some certain things I would have done differently. That said, the impetus to start Sweet Sweat originally, which was my first brand out in Newport Beach, California, was my wife. She was diagnosed with Lyme disease, and we had discovered this infrared sauna just in a chat room, and we didn't want to try. We're exploring Eastern type of medicine and solutions. Well, Western meds weren't the answer, so we bought one for our house, fell in love with it, and then when I started, our friends started coming over and enjoying it as well. And everybody, the more I dug into it and used it, the more I saw the benefits. And I said, well, where can you go to experience this if you didn't want to spend $6,000 or more to buy one for your house? And there just wasn't that option. So that was what we created. And we opened in 2010, January 2010, the first sauna studio, and only had 3 saunas in it. But within a couple months we were packed, and it was, you couldn't get in. So I went and leased a bigger space and put 6 in. And again, those were the original sauna studios in the entire country, really the entire world, but based in the U.S. So it was created out of a personal need. We were never really created it to make money, and this was going to be this huge franchise. That's how it started. Obviously, as we saw our members and customers coming in and feeling the benefits, and I guess as a parallel path, the growth and popularity of these, but not only from doctors prescribing them now and endorsing them, but also celebrities and athletes and everybody really getting behind the power of these infrared saunas. I think now, fast forward 10 years later, the timing is now, the awareness is high for us to take HotBox now and really expand that into a national powerhouse.
Now, how do you differentiate yourself in terms of when you're now wearing the franchisor hat and the business becomes more about training and helping other people be successful as opposed to, every day trying to get more customers into your store?
Well, there are some other competitors out there, and the company that I started, I sold, is still in operation. They rebranded themselves, and there's some other players out there trying to franchise this concept. I think number one is, look at the team. We've got a really strong team that knows franchising, that did this out, and really as the pioneer of the whole space. You got to look at who you're kind of getting in bed with, and with the success of the team that's driving the franchisor, right? You always look at the leadership, and their track record. So that number one. Number two is, we've got the best sauna in the business. So it's taken, 10 years of learnings we created a custom sauna that's specifically designed for commercial use in our facilities and studios. In addition from that, we've got, Jamie, my partner is building. We're going to have probably close to 16 locations open by the end of this year, all opening this year.
Wow.
So we're going to be the biggest player in the industry. We're going to have the most momentum. The best team, the best systems and support are coming with that. And again, it's really a company started by franchisees, right? Jamie and I both have been franchisees, and I've worn a lot of different hats. Jamie comes out of finance, and of course, Zach and Jessica, our other partners, have been business owners as well. So it's really a collective group of entrepreneurs, but obviously with a big influence of franchising and what it takes to be a franchisee. What I see a lot, and I have interest in a lot of different brands, emerging brands, is people start franchises without ever having been a franchisee or understanding what it takes to support franchisees. And you guys talk about it a lot, on your show, but that's an important piece to that puzzle is learning the number one job of a franchisor is supporting franchisees.
Right. Now, do you have any advice for other franchisors out there when you have a service that is complementary and there is an opportunity to partner and collaborate with other brands in order for both of you to be more successful? Do you have any advice how to create those relationships, those win-win relationships with complementary brands?
Well, is that so from a franchisee side, like you said,
say right now, like you mentioned Orange Theory, because one of your partners is an Orange Theory franchisee. He has a lot of them. So here you have a service that kind of dovetails very nicely, doesn't compete. It's just a very nice complementary service. So if you're a franchisee and you see these other services that are complementary, like you said, it's probably you get a better deal probably in the strip center if I'm coming in now with two instead of one. And so how do you get those win-wins? How do you structure those so that you can collaborate and work together?
Well, we're doing it now, and Jamie is, again, trying to identify where this will be synergistic, close to an Orange Theory. But at the end of the day, it's massage, it's spin, it's Pilates, it's yoga. It's all these specialty studios that have fueled the fitness industry and just health and wellness in general. From all the way up to the big box like Planet Fitness and Lifetime Fitness and those type of gyms, this would be complementary to that. And even possibly inside, there's some synergy, inside of some of these other types of bigger footprints where we can operate inside of them. But as I said, it is powerful in and of itself if you can add this to your portfolio in the strip center next to some of these complementary other specialty studios. I think that's very powerful. And again, this is very simple to operate. It's and very powerful. So there's not a lot of moving parts, and there's not a lot of employees, which is very nice and refreshing for those of us that have operated businesses with lots of employees and moving parts, like restaurants.
Now, you mentioned restaurants. A trend that we're seeing a lot of here in Atlanta and in my travels, I've seen a lot of these food halls where a bunch of restaurants are getting together in one space and then having kind of a food court kind of experience for the customer. Do you see the same things happening in fitness where a bunch of these complementary brands are going to be all in one location, and then you're getting kind of this mega gem experience from a customer standpoint, but it's kind of everything's kind of a la carte?
Yeah, and that's what we saw if you go back 20 years ago, and that was the kind of big box gym, and certainly over the past 10 years, and most specifically over the past 5 years, has been the proliferation of these specialty studios. So, everybody kind of said, I want to deconstruct this. I just want my yoga. I just want my Pilates. I just want my spin. I don't want them all in one place. And I just want a box, or whatever that is. And that's why there's so many of these just individual kind of disciplines in a studio. Now, everybody has mixed, saunas. They put them in now with cryo and float tanks and all these other services, and it never works out well, because the benefit that we have in a studio and having a dozen or more suites is that you can get in, you have privacy, and you can get out. And unless you have that kind of quantity, just putting one or two saunas in as a complimentary service, is nice, but eventually people are not going to be able to get in, right? There's only 12 spots a day, 12 hours, if you're open for 12 hours, that I can get in there. And so if somebody books it, I'm booked. And that's what I've experienced. You got to have the capacity, and this in and of itself as a standalone is where we really drive the benefits and ultimately the economics of the model.
If you're just now joining us, you're listening to Franchise Marketing Radio. Our guest today is co-founder and director with HotBox Infrared Sauna Studio, Mr. Alex Samios. Alex, Stone Payton here with Business Radio X. When it comes to marketing, getting the word out about the HotBox opportunity to prospective franchisees, are you finding some marketing strategies, some media platforms more effective for you, more productive for you than others?
Well, we're just launching the franchise opportunity now, and the key is we want to get the 4 open in Atlanta, and we'll have that done in the next 60 days. The other 2 will be open, and really get things really tight, and then we're also expanding into 5 other cities. In terms of the franchise opportunity, we really want, number one, ideally experienced franchisees. Somebody, again, that has a portfolio of something, that can add this, that has a team, that has infrastructure, that can build out, a major market as well. That would be ideal, to get, another 10 type of Jamies that can go and build, 10 to 15 or 20 of these and control a market. Now, that said, the infrared technology is still so new that, we're going to do some shows, but I think right now the launch is let's get these couple open, and then we're going to hit the press really hard, and start shouting about, the benefits of infrared, but also the opportunity, that's available. And so always my marketing approach, and again, I'm a partner in the fastest growing pet franchise, is it's always a multi-prong approach. It's never one thing, and it's about taking parallel paths to increase your brand awareness, whether that's conferences or trade shows, leveraging PR, buying leads, putting them on portals, placement, ads in portals, getting those articles written, influencers. I mean, it's all those things.
So when it comes to digital marketing, and particularly when you're bringing people into your world, maybe your website, is this increased attention that we're beginning to see toward, ADA compliance and privacy and data security? Is that kind of thing starting to impact you guys at all, or is that really hit your radar yet?
No, not really, not yet. And again, HotBox is new in anything I've done with other brands. The digital, you've got to have a strong digital footprint, and obviously searching, organic search before paid search is key. And a lot of that, again, starts with PR and getting that digital footprint out there. And not having to pay for it is really key as well. And that's through influencers or other folks as well, but getting people talking about your brand. And that's, number one. And some of, as marketing, for any brand, some of your first franchisees should be your customers, right? If they're going to be your early adopters, they're going to be your passionate, folks that are using, your services or product, that's the low-hanging fruit for potential franchisees, is market to your existing customers, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you mentioned Dogtopia. Can you tell us a little bit about what you got going on over there?
Yeah, Dogtopia is the fastest growing brand in the pet industry, as I said, which is now almost an $80 billion industry. So we're bigger than the health and fitness space, the pet industry, that is. And Dogtopia, based in Phoenix here. I'm the vice president of development for the company and one of the partners, but we bought the company 4 years ago with 28 locations, 4 of which were company owned. So we had a little over 20 franchisees. And bought it from the founder, and now we're at 130 stores open in just a couple of years. We're opening this year 70, more than one a week, and we've got I've sold over 250 in development, 120 of which were last year alone. 120 new licenses were sold last year. So we're on track to hit 400 centers open by 2023, which is exciting. And our focus is daycare, boarding, and spa services for dogs.
Now, this must be very rewarding work, and what's the most rewarding part for you?
With Dogtopia, or just in general?
Just in general, going from, evolving from franchisee, working in corporate, now you got, you're franchisor in multiple concepts now, and you're really helping people really serve their community.
And you've hit the pinnacle, man. You're on the Business Radio X Franchise Marketing Radio Show. I mean, you're at the top of your game.
There you go. I love it. Well, I think I love growth. I love being in that, that hyper growth phase, whether it's gone from like we are at HotBox 0 to, a dozen in the first year, or going from 130 to 200 at Dogtopia. And that's really exciting. And I guess, what I do all day is being able to recruit and talk to franchisees and or candidates, right? From all these different backgrounds, and get them excited about the brand and learn about their backgrounds. And, obviously they don't all join you, but it's great just talking franchising and sharing the opportunity with folks. And some fit, some don't. But at least, the power of franchising is just what I wake up, and it gets me fired up. I eat and live and breathe it every day, as I have, and more candidates. We call a lot of our, in franchising, a lot of the franchisees come from corporate America, right? I call them corporate refugees, first-time entrepreneurs that are kind of fed up and want to do something, control their destiny, and do something they love. And franchising is just a great model that's proven. It's a system. It's support. You don't have to figure everything out. And it's just to see where the franchise industry has come over the past, 20, 30 years is awesome.
Now, are you seeing a difference in the personality of these franchisees over the years?
Well, there's definitely a bigger appetite for multi-unit, right? And I think, if you can do one of anything, the first one's always the hardest one. As a franchisee, duplicating it or replicating those efforts should be easier if you're with the right franchise brand and they're providing the right support, and assuming there's no barriers like real estate and things like that. But that's probably one of the differences is seeing an appetite for multi-unit operations, and really people understanding that, hey, that's really the path to financial freedom as well. Is if you're making X amount of dollars with one, well, you can make X times 5 if you own, several of these. Plus it gives you the capability to hire those levels between your management, store level, and you. It gives you those resources to be able to hire those different levels. And you might have to do a lot of heavy lifting in the beginning, but eventually you're going to have a better quality of life by those multiple units throwing off that kind of cash.
Well, knowing that going in, as a franchisor, do you kind of build that into your process now? That maybe 20, 30 years ago, you were thinking that most people were going to be single owners, or there'd be a lot of those that you'd have to deal with?
Yeah, I think as a franchisor, obviously, if you have 300 locations, I think every franchisor would like to say they'd rather have 10 franchisees controlling 300 locations rather than 300 franchisees controlling 300 locations. And just for our level of support and dealing with the number of people that we dealt with. And Papa John's did that. They, instead of like Domino's was all single unit owner operators. And Papa John's started selling, 5, 10, 15, 20 store areas. And so, I remember in California, you could put 10 of us around a room that controlled the entire state of California. That would be, 500 or I'm just making this up, but it was hundreds of franchisees with Domino's. So getting 500 people to agree on one thing is a lot harder than 10. And so again, the levels of support are different. So I think franchisors kind of made it sexier and kind of wanted to focus on those bigger area developers. And also I think the single unit franchisee looked up and said, hey, I want to be I want to be them, and I want to own 3 of something or 5 of something. And so I think we've put them on a pedestal, and I think other people have aspired to be area developers or multi-unit operators as well.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for sharing your story today. If somebody wanted to learn more about HotBox, what's the website for a prospective franchisee?
HotBoxSaunaStudio.com.
And then you're here in Atlanta. You want to give a shout out to some of the Atlanta, how to find the Atlanta folks? Do you know?
Yeah. So we're open in Vinings. We're open in Sandy Springs. Midtown and Buckhead are coming soon. And that'll complete the initial phase of Atlanta. And obviously we're looking for, folks to help us build out that market as well. And then we'll be coming to Orange County, California, Los Angeles, Denver, Dallas, Portland. So keep a lookout. And if you can, those of you listening never tried an infrared sauna, go find one, try it, and find a HotBox. But thank you guys. Appreciate your time today, and Happy New Year.
All right. Well, thank you for being part of the show. This is Lee Cantor for Stone Payton. We will see you all next time on Franchise Marketing Radio.